Hello, I didn't see you there. You just caught me in the middle of preparing the Strat for a refret. Taking the frets off is kind of easy. What I like to do is I like to apply a little bit of water around the fret. And I take my soldering iron with a little dab of solder and my little fret pullers. I heat up the fret so that it kind of sweats the wood a little bit. And my hope is that the added water in that area that I've just applied will, it steams up a little bit. And I think that helps with the friction to get the fret out. See, pretty easy, pretty easy, pretty easy. And like I say, this is the easy part, if you're lucky. The next comes the stress and the worry about trying to get the frets just perfect. My plan with this guitar is to take the neck off and refret just the neck and not worry too much about it being attached to the body, because it's nice with a bolt-on neck just to take it off. And if you need to hammer it, if you need to clamp it, clamping makes it a little bit, things are easier to clamp when the neck is off. And yeah, I'm not gonna make a big epic series of a video on this. Now, the interesting thing is that I'm going to be putting stainless steel frets on this, and I'm also, now you won't really be, maybe you can see it. You may notice from these final remaining frets here that the tang is not visible. Now, there's no binding, but basically what I think Fender did was they cut the slots as you normally would do on a fingerboard, and then they maybe filled in the edges. So each fret still has, can you see this? A little teeny sort of a T-shape. See that little edge? That little tiny bit at the very end there. You've got a little overhang. Now that overhang, goes to the very edge of the fretboard, but the actual tang, the bit that digs into the wood, you don't see that. Stainless steel can be kind of heavy on some tools. So my files from StewMac are all rated for steel, for stainless steel. The only thing that isn't is a little fret tang nipper, which I would normally use to create that little T-shape, that little overhang. So considering I'm not going to have a T-shape overhang, well, it's going to ruin my tools. And the owner did say, do what you have to do to this guitar. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use a fret depth saw. I can't remember the actual name, but it is for frets, for fret slots. And I'm going to get rid of the those little fill-in bits. So this guitar is going to, when it's done, you're going to see the fret tangs in the end, like you would do, like in the edge of the fingerboard, like you would do in many other Fenders. So I'm not doing anything radical here, just doing something that this guitar wasn't originally supposed to do. But we didn't have stainless steel frets in it, so that's the compromise for the sake of my tools. Yeah, basically that's really it. So it's kind of selfish, but some fretting tools are pretty expensive, so I don't want to ruin them, and I don't want to have to charge that extra wear and tear onto the customer. So I figure just straight through, well, that's what we're going to do. Got my handy fret saw here. It has this this bit of plexiglass thing with some adjustment doodads, and that's a depth stop. So it stops me from sawing the entire neck off and going through the truss rod and all that. So here, maybe you can see, I hope you can see, I've already done one. Now the slot goes all the way through. So here comes my second slot. Nice and easy. I'm going to pull inward so as to minimize any chipping. And then I've got to do the same thing on the other end. I'm going to put my saw in first and then go inward like that. And now I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times. Ooh. Ooh, is that satisfying? Are you getting as much out of this as I am? And there we go again. Ooh, so good. This sort of stuff should be kind of nerve-wracking. But, at the end of the day, to employ a hackneyed phrase, at the end of the day, it's just wood. Yes, you could argue, oh man, it's more than just wood, man. Oh, man. Shut up. You know what? These things are tools. And like any tool, they suffer from wear and tear. And you're going to use the damn tool, or are you going to put it in a display case? Now, obviously, my aim here is to be as careful as I possibly can. But you know what? If you make a little mistake, make sure that it is little, learn from your mistake, and you need to kind of move on. You do need to be careful. Yes, that should go without saying. But you can't be too precious about these things, I don't think. Plus, battle scars are cool. Little modifications are kind of nice. I'll leave it at that for there. And hopefully that makes a whole lot of sense, and hopefully you can learn something from all this. Hey, what's up? As you can see, a lot of the neck is fretted, and I just wanted to invite you into my fretting world. So I've got my cutters here, and over here I have my fret wire. It's the 47104 solid state? No, not solid state. Stainless steel. So I've got my fret wire bent to the radius that I like it. You'll notice that it's in a circle. I like the radius to be a little bit tighter than the board I'm working on. I just do. I like it to bulge up in the middle so I can pound it down or clamp it down, as you can see. So I choose the length I wish. And I'm using a pressing and a gluing method. I really like using glue. Pull up a chair. I like using glue because it gets in there. It helps keep the fret down, and it sort of fills up the space too. So I feel like the frets themselves, the notes will feel a little bit more solid when you come to fretting the note. If you ever run your fingernail up and down a fretboard, sometimes you hear like a hollow sounding. They don't all sound the same. So sometimes you just know when one is it's either popped up above the fretboard, or perhaps it's just not nice and solid. There's a bit of an air gap underneath there. So I like them to be a part of the neck. And by doing this, I use a glue. That glue that I like to use is this 60-second all-purpose glue. It is a cyanoacrylate, or whatever that is, the cyano something, super glue. But it's like gel type. So it sticks to the fret, it sticks to the wood, all that, fine. Where did I put my fret? Damn. You've got a splinter of some sort. My fret is here. So, kind of backtracking a little bit. The previous fret is in, and I like to use what is called this. It's cyanoacrylate. It's a accelerator. So if you've got some super glue that's taken its time to set, this stuff just it speeds up the chemical reaction, and everything is good. So there I have that's doing its thing for a moment there in the press. So here's my next fret, and I'm applying just a teensy weensy bit of glue to the tang, and that glue is going to spill over onto the fretboard. But the beauty of working with a rosewood fretboard as opposed to maple, or should I say something that's lacquered, it's easy to clean off spilled super glue on bare wood because you use acetone or nail polish remover, that sort of thing, as long as it has acetone in it. So there I am. I pounded the fret in roughly, and I'm getting rid of some excess super glue that's spilled over, and I am adjusting my clamp and moving on to the next fret. Now this is I'm using a 16-inch radius. It's a funny radius for a Fender, I think. But, they come in all shapes and sizes. When I measured it, it was a 16-inch. 9.5 to 10 or 7.25, very, very common for Fender. And sometimes you see the odd 12, but 16, well, this is unheard of. I don't care because I've got the tools to do it. If that's what the fretboard was reading, that's what it's reading. It's 16 inches. Great. So that's kind of the process for doing the one fret. This is what? 20, I think it's 21. Is it 12, 15, 17, 19? It's a 21 fret, if I'm not mistaken. So you do that 21 times, and that's the frets roughly in. After that, you've got all kinds of sanding and filing and leveling and polishing, and then the setting up, and there's a lot to it, really, isn't there? But as much as I detest this actual tool, it's so cumbersome, and I have it all set up with various bits of wood and levels, and it gets very, very annoying to use sometimes. It is quite handy, and it's a lot cheaper than these big jaw type things that you get, which maybe one day I will buy, but they're like a couple £100 a piece. And so, yeah, it's just an expensive thing. Fretting is a very involved process, lots of little stages, and there's no real magic or dark art to it. It's a lot of it's practice, I guess. And just having the patience, really, to go through stage by stage and to never make promises you can't keep. Don't say, oh, I'll refret it for 50 quid, no problem. Bad idea. Take your time, do it right, and if you don't do it right, fluff it real good. And here we go. Now, like, is this the end of phase 1, phase 2? How many phases is this? I don't even know. But let's see, what state are we in? The frets are in. The ends have been filed, and you know, there's a little bit of an angle going on there, and they've been smoothed at the very edges. And the fingerboard has been cleaned up with some trusty acetone and this dirty, disgusting cotton pad. And as you can see, I mean, you can't really see any super glue there. Just in case you were thinking that, no, he's lying. It doesn't happen. But yeah, the super glue is gone. I mean, yeah, if you look really carefully, you'll probably be able to see remnants of it just sort of where the frets meet the wood. And if I want to, I can get in there for another pass. But I mean, overall, it is not ugly in the slightest. And we're not even done. So the next thing is to put the neck on the body, level the frets, and mumble. There you go. Played not so expertly by me. So that's stainless steel frets on a Strat. In hindsight, was it more difficult than doing your average German silver frets? Not particularly. The only real thing that changed in this whole fretting approach was just not using my little fret tang nippers there. Everything else was just sort of by the book, you know, kind of normal. I don't think it took particularly longer to do. You would think that maybe with the harder steel, it would take longer to sand and polish, but I didn't notice any extra big toil over the whole thing. So overall, not bad. Now, the only thing left, what I'd really like to do is, you won't be able to see it necessarily on this. If you recall me having to sort of break out the sides here, whatever little filler they had done, and make the fret slots, you know, go all the way through from, you know, east-west here. I'm looking down and I'm seeing that the slot is considerably deeper than the fret itself. So I'm still left with little air gaps. I was always going to be left, you know, with, you know, the fret ends visible. But I'm looking at the size of that gap there. I'm thinking, I really should do something with that. So I think what I'll end up doing is getting a bit of rosewood sawdust. I have some flying around here somewhere, and probably some glue. Make a little bit of a paste and just wipe it in. Wipe it on in there. Same with the other side, and you know, just sand and polish it at the end. And I think that'll be fine. I have a funny feeling that's what they do, or something similar to that. In the world of Fender, I mean, they've got to cut the slots and then fill it with something. So I don't think it's going to be anything very high tech. And that will do it. It's a high setup on this. The player, I think, likes his bends. Looks like a blues kind of a setup from when I first got it, so I've mimicked it. I haven't really labored over the setup. It's pretty decent. He told me, like, no matter what you do with it, I'm gonna fiddle with it anyway. So like, great, my kind of customer. That's cool. So I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I have enjoyed this, and I will go and finish this off, and that's it. That concludes 2020, the best year ever. And there you go. It worked out quite nicely. See, those were air gaps, and now they are just little bits of extra things, and that is pretty damn close to how you would see it originally. So, yay.